here at Leader Exchange, our final Leader Exchange of 2023, with the infamous and famous Fort Worth personality Hal Jay, WBAP. Thanks for being with us today.
I'm last of the
Well,
year?
you are the last of the year.
Okay,
We wanted to finish on a high note, man.
Oh, is that right?
Well, that's exactly right.
You know what? This organization's so great. I've been here before to the luncheon, and I can't thank you enough for asking.
Hey, we're excited to have you.
It's a great luncheon, a great bunch of guys and gals, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here.
You bet.
Tell you what, start out with just giving us kind of a flyover of your life. You know, we don't always have people here from Fort Worth, but you were born here in Fort Worth. So
Harris Hospital.
Awesome.
Ann was Harris Hospital. Both of our kids, Harris Hospital. So we're all from Fort Worth. Left it for a while. And
Kansas, right?
Kansas.
Okay.
Went up there to live with my dad during my high school years. So I was up in Kansas, liberal Kansas.
Okay.
Southwest corner of the state. I bet some people have been up there to go pheasant hunting before.
Yes, sir.
There for 4 years. Then Ann and I got married in 1973, moved off to Memphis, Tennessee for 7 years.
Okay. That's not a bad place either.
We had a ball.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great music town. And we got to meet a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Did a lot of partying, which, you know, I at 70 years old, I guess I ought to get down on my hands and knees and thank God for getting us through it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a great city. So you have had a 42-year career here in Fort Worth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What would you say is the key to that success here? Why do you think such great appeal here in Fort Worth and the surrounding area?
You know, I don't know how to answer that. All I know is that in the radio business, WBAP, it was an icon.
Right.
It was an icon to radio all around America. And before all of the streaming came along and things like that, you could get WBAP in almost every state at night.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, we'd get calls from all over the place, and still do on the AM. By the way, BAP is going to go FM as well.
Okay.
On January the 3rd, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Well, I got it on my phone this morning. It was, easy, very easy to get onto and
Streaming. That's where the business is going.
Right.
It's streaming. But the secret, 42 years. See, I believe in dedication. I could have left.
Right.
I could have left for a few $100s a month more.
Right.
Or no, I don't want to do that. We were implanted here as a family.
And you look good in purple. So, I mean, if you move somewhere else, you'd have to go yellow or some other color.
I've been a purple fan. I used to play football. Wasn't any good for the TCU Tiny Mites.
Okay.
You remember the Tiny Mites?
I don't.
There was the Tiny Mites, and played some football. I think I played 1 year and just got beat up. I was always too slow. But that and I've always loved TCU, back to the Frank Windegger days, and as athletic director and all that, and we've always just loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who's been the biggest impact on you in the industry? Like, who did you look up to back in the day, or who were you? Anybody you emulated, or anybody that kind of gave you your first break?
Well, I tell you what, when I was 15 and 16, there was a couple of people I tried to sound like.
Okay.
One was a guy named John Records Landecker from WLS in Chicago.
Okay.
I could hear him in Kansas. And I'd listen to him every night. I think, good gosh, if I can sound like that, I got it made. You know, if I can do that, I got it made.
Us preachers do that sometimes too. You know, we find somebody we like and
do you?
Yeah. Well, I hopefully I haven't done that, but it's inevitable sometimes.
Well, you can't help it. You find somebody that influenced you. John Landecker and let's see, golly, who else was? There's a couple of other broadcasters. Dan Ingram at WABC in New York was one. He used to work here at KBOX in Dallas.
Okay.
And him, who else? Anyway, there's probably a half dozen or so that I tried to emulate. I guess the biggest influence on the career, though, the biggest influence, I can't answer with one person. Yeah. I can answer with my dad, who got me into the business. But then I can jump over to.
Was he in the industry? Was he?
Yeah,
in the
he was.
business?
That's what he did in Kansas.
Okay,
he ran a radio station.
Okay,
and that's an interesting story. One time, one of the disc jockeys didn't show up, And he goes, "You got to go in the air." I said, "I can't go in the air."
I did hear about that. I remember you saying that. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
you've heard about that? Okay.
No, I
Go ahead.
just we talked about that. I remember that now.
I said,
So,
"I can't go in the air." And he goes, "You got to." So I went on the air and did that. And then
how old were you when that happened?
that's what I'm trying to remember. 16-ish,
Okay.
maybe 17. I know it was before I was a senior in high school. So I'm thinking junior. And then he hired me full time.
As the disc jockey, you had to do that for
Just once. I just
okay.
that once.
Okay.
And then he hired me full time to go out, and he would take me out. No, he wouldn't. I could drive in Kansas at that age. I would drive out to the station on Sunday morning and run the tapes,
Okay.
the Christian tapes and the tapes of church services and everything.
All right.
And I knew Dad would be listening in case anything went wrong. So actually, this is before I became the disc jockey. Anyway, one of the tapes broke right in the middle of a sermon. And I panicked. I didn't know what to do. So I turned the mic on and said, "Dad, the tape broke. Come to the radio station."
Right there in the middle of it.
Right there in the middle of it. That's the very first thing I ever said on the radio.
That's great.
Oh, you got there and
launched your career.
And
huh?
that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Speaking of spiritual things, who kind of influenced you most spiritually growing up? Share with us a little bit of your
Wow.
faith journey.
Okay, that journey, I've got to be honest with you. I had an uncle in Memphis
Okay.
named Uncle Carroll. He was a highly religious man. And when Ann and I moved to Memphis, we started going to the Baptist church there. But I think probably the man that influenced me the most was Ken Horton.
Okay.
And I bet you know Ken.
I do know Ken. Ken's a good friend of mine, and I would be he'd be honored to hear that. I know.
I hope he does hear it.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll make sure he does hear it.
Oh, good.
How about that?
I got baptized at the age of 12-ish,
Okay.
and that was at Rosen Heights Baptist Church here in Fort Worth.
Right. I know
on the
Rosen
north
Heights.
side.
I know Rosen Heights.
Dr. Allen was his name.
Okay.
We'd go to church, and Dr. Allen was the fire and brimstone type of preacher.
Back in the day.
We'd leave scared to death. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Leave scared to death. So I got baptized. And for a 12-year-old to say, "Oh, I've accepted Christ and everything," I still don't know how a 12-year-old can understand what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you may come across that. And I'm not running down 12-year-olds
Right.
this Sunday who get baptized or
Sure.
whatever, because they do. But 17 years ago is when, well, maybe even further back than that, when Josh was born and when Carter was born. I know I said, "God, you're so good. Thank you for these two babies and
Right.
everything." And I thank God for Ann. And so that was but that was kind of a, "God, thank you so much." You know how that is?
Sure.
It's kind of a bypass type.
Yep. Right.
In passing, I should say. 17 years ago when I had the heart attack, and Josh got me to the emergency room in Mineral Wells.
That gets serious real quick, doesn't it? Yeah.
Boy, did it ever.
You're right.
And praying hard and all the way there. And that was a wake up.
Right.
That was a wake up to being a Christian. And from then on, there's not a day I don't thank God. But the heart transplant, there was things that happened during the heart transplant that you just wouldn't believe. And it's something that I can't prove,
Right.
but it's fact.
It's personal for you, and you know it. And
I died on the table at Baylor Scott and White, and I had Ann's hand in my hand, and we were face to face. I said, "I love you, but I'm fixing to die."
wow.
She goes, "No, you're not." I said, "Hey, I'm fixing to die." And next thing I know, I guess I was laying there on the table. The next thing I remember is God and Josh on my shoulder.
Wow.
And I wish I could explain it. I can't prove it, but I know for me, it's
Yeah.
they were on my shoulder,
Wow.
resting, and there was such a feeling of peace. It was unbelievable.
Oh, that's great. And not many people get that experience.
No, they don't.
And
You
but
know, I
that's
didn't have a light to go to or see anything at all. I just knew that they were both
a
there.
knowing, yeah. And all of our audience may not know all that happened there. If you would,
Right.
the situation with Josh and losing him 7 years ago now.
Yeah, 7
I know
years in
that
January. Yeah,
Um,
still difficult.
sure,
Ann has Ann has problems every day, and I do too. But it the pain never goes away. But God's there to get you through it.
right. And having that experience on the table, the Christian hope is that we are going to see him again.
Yeah.
And you're going to see him again.
Well, I know for a fact that I am, and but after I came back, or if I want to put it that way, after
Right.
I was revived, I told what had happened, and the thing about it is, if I'd have died, it'd been okay,
Right.
because I became aware that no matter what would happen to me, I win.
Yeah.
If I
yeah,
make it through it, I'm alive and I'm with Ann and the other grandkids.
right.
If I die, I'm with God and Josh.
No losing in
There's
that
no
situation.
losing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only people that lose are the people that remain on the earth,
That's
that
right.
remain alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
physically alive. And but the feeling of peace was, gosh, Jeff, I don't know. I don't think you can explain it until you experience it,
Right. Right.
you know?
And that is again, that's we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah.
Hope in light of all the things that have happened here in Fort Worth and
Ah, my
just
goodness, yeah.
Christmas season and all of that. But well, that's a hard one to move on from because that's a powerful, powerful story. I know powerful in your life, powerful in people's lives around
And
you.
and I tell people to this day, I tell them, I said, you know what? It's okay to be mad at God.
Right.
Trust me, He can handle it.
Yeah, he can. He can. And,
He can handle it. But you get mad at God, and you're just so mad, and then you turn right around immediately and ask Him for help.
right. I know. I know.
Talk about an oxymoron of some sort, but that's why He's such a stable in my life and Ann's and
Right.
the families. So it's a good feeling.
Sure.
It's a great feeling.
Well, it's worked. It's hard to say in the midst of all that, but it's worked some good in your life. Sound like,
Oh,
and
yes.
a lot of things.
Ann and I have not been to church physically now in 10 months, 11 months, because I have to watch crowds.
Right.
Today's crowd of 200, I'll be kind of away from them. A church crowd where you're sitting like
next to-
this,
yeah.
and nobody's moving,
Right,
the air
right.
isn't moving. That's what I have to be aware
Yeah,
of.
Yeah.
But we watch it every Sunday on YouTube.
That's
We're
great.
members at Christ Chapel,
Right.
and Cody McQueen's always texting and asking how we're doing.
Oh, that's great.
And it's good to have that connection still.
is.
We're going to try to get back. But then all of a sudden, COVID's going around now, and
I know.
RSV and everything. So I really don't. Sometimes I don't know what to do.
Well, we need to be aware of that at the luncheon. But tell us
Oh,
a
good.
little bit about the heart transplant and some of the leading
Yeah.
up to that, because that's a dramatic. I mean, you've lived
That-
10 lives in the last 7 years. So
Yes, I have.
um,
That was all. Ann will tell you that everybody knew the heart transplant was coming. I didn't, but why did everybody else know?
just intuitively knew,
They knew because
Okay.
Dr. Syed Shaw, my cardiologist in Fort Worth, Dr. Shaw, he called the Baylor Scott and White Heart Transplant Clinic 6 years ago
okay.
to get me in so I wouldn't have to go through all the rigmarole of going to
Right.
the hospital,
Right.
filling out paper. I was a patient. I was
Okay.
there. And that was such insight
Right.
because I had a tachycardia, a ventricular tachycardia. They call it VTAC. I had one at 3:45 in the morning, excuse me, at racetrack on Camp Bowie, hit the ground out.
Wow.
I had another one when they got home from the national championship game that TCU lost to Georgia. In fact, I think Georgia just scored again.
Yeah. Again.
Again, when they got home from the national championship, I didn't go, but they did. Ann and the family went. They walked into the door, and 30 minutes later, I was waiting for them, and I said, I'm going to bed. I'm glad you all are home. Bam, I hit the ground
Right there.
right there. Our doctor, family doctor lives across the street. Well, she came a running, and her husband, who's a doctor too, came running. Couldn't find a pulse. They got me to the hospital. Got to Harris. They transferred me immediately. My doctor Shaw, he calls it take him to Baylor. So like 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to Baylor.
Wow.
And I was there. This is January the 4th. No, that's February the 4th. January the 4th? January the 4th or 5th. Anyway, they get me over to Baylor, and I get in, and they knew I needed a transplant immediately. But the transplant process is they just don't look at your heart and say, yep, you need a transplant. They go through and they test everything, and all these numbers have to match up. I can't explain it, but everything has to be
Blood
right.
type, everything else.
Yes, everything has to be right, and everything was. Thank you. Don't tap on the wall.
Yeah,
a little insight to the
That's right.
podcast here. So everything had to be right, and it turned out everything was right. They biopsied my lung, heart, well, not the heart, but the liver, kidneys, everything. Everything was perfect. And one of the doctors said, "You're one of the healthiest people we've had in here, except for your heart." I said, "You have got to be kidding."
For a heart transplant.
You might have ought to redo those machines a little bit. Anyway, so they were going to hook me up with a machine and send me home. And I had another VTAC there in the hospital. And that's what put me on level 2 of a heart transplant. Once you get to level 1 and level 2, you don't leave the hospital.
So you're
done. You're there.
Okay.
They told me it'd probably be 2 or 3 months.
How long were you there in the hospital?
They found I was there in the hospital 33 days.
Okay.
Total. And
but that was even after the transplant. So how
long?
No,
that includes the transplant.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. They found a heart. They said it'd probably take 2 or 3 months to find a heart for a guy my size, because they have to match. 10 days later, I got lucky.
Not many guys your size.
I know it.
So.
Well, 10 days later, they found a heart.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is. That's a great word to use.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. And so they got it here. The heart's perfect. Everything went perfect. The doctor, Dr. Raphael, called Ann at 5:30 in the morning. It started at 1, ended at 5:30. The doctor called Ann, said, "Listen, things went great. The heart matched perfect. Everything was great." He goes, "I'd come down and talk to you, but I got to do another one in 5 minutes."
Wow. That's amazing. Those guys are special.
God, are they great? They're so smart. It's unbelievable. So everything's great. The heart's great. It'll be a year coming up, 1st of February. The transplant date was actually February 4th.
Okay.
But it'll be a year, and the only problem I've had is that I have no immune system. So I fight E. coli and UTIs.
Right.
And they can get pretty serious sometimes. They put me back in the hospital for a UTI for 4 days back in August.
Okay.
And they put me on the transplant floor where everybody knew me. And by golly, all the doctors and nurses came back in to say, "Hey."
Okay.
It was like seeing, I love these people.
Reunion, right?
It was. And you lose your modesty is gone. It's like, I guess, a woman giving birth.
Yeah.
Forget modesty.
Exactly.
Because, they know you better than you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do mean that you can use your imagination on what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And that's as far as I'll go with it. But they all came back to say hi.
I don't want to use my imagination. In fact, I put something in my head I don't want to ever be in my head again.
Yeah, God will get you for that. Don't do that. So, but this one young lady, wonderful nurse, came in. "Mr. Harbuck, are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I'm doing fine. The heart's perfect." And she says, "Why are you here?" I said, "Oh, I've got an infection they're trying to get rid of." She goes, "Do you know the last time I saw you, I was giving you a bath?" I went,
Yeah.
"Well,"
Yeah.
I said, "I thought I recognized those hands."
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
And she
a little too
started laughing.
personal, isn't it?
Exactly. So, but one of the nurses asked me one time when I first got there, she said, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "I do a radio show." And she said, "Where?" I said, "Just down the street at the American Airlines Center, WBAP Radio." And she wanted to know what my name was. I said, Hal Jay on the radio. And she goes, my mom and dad listen to you every morning. This is unbelievable. Are you kidding me? I said, no, I appreciate it. And tell them thank you very much.
Yeah, and a lot of people do.
Well, I don't know about that, but she said, gosh, it's got to be a lot of fun. I said, you know what? I have a ball.
Yeah.
I said, but let me help you out here. I said, I get up every morning at 3:15, drive to Dallas, go on the radio, talk, have fun, get serious, make people smile, make people whatever. I said, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? She goes, great. I said, you get up every day.
3:15.
I said, you get up every day and save lives.
Yeah. That's
and
good.
she kind of stopped.
Yeah.
I said, now then, who's got the good job?
Yeah, no, that's right.
And she
It's
started
meaningful.
smiling. And she said, thank you for saying that.
Well,
said,
you bring a lot of life to people too in what you do. But if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? Anything you'd do differently?
I'd be a pilot.
Okay. Yeah. You'd be a pilot.
My dad worked for Central Airlines, an old airline, actually out of Fort Worth. And let's see, Jimmy Stewart was part owner.
Okay.
And he worked for Central Airlines here, and then he moved to Amarillo. And so I grew up kind of on a DC-3. That's back in the days when they had service from Fort Worth to Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah, on a DC-3. And I grew up on a DC-3 and I always thought, man, it'd be great to be a pilot.
Yeah.
I got out of high school, went to the Air Force office, and they asked me a couple of questions. And they said, you're just too tall to fly.
Yeah.
You can't fly in the planes that now I could.
Yeah.
Now
they got bigger.
Yeah. But I was too tall to fly. So anyway, my dad got me into radio.
Well, it's not been a bad gig for you. You've done well. You've done well. When it's all said and done, because it's all going to be said and done at some point for all of us, how would you like your listeners to remember you?
Wow. As a fun guy.
Yeah.
Try not to offend too many people. Just as a fun person.
Right.
Yeah.
Bringing life.
That's it. Nothing complicated, and just fun.
Yeah. If you had a young man sitting across from you that wanted to get in the industry, maybe not exactly what you do, but in the industry, what would you say to him? Just about leadership, just about what you do and that kind of thing.
Never give up. It's a hard business to get successful in. Never give up, and don't be afraid to take a chance.
Yeah.
I never took a chance because I had Ann and the kids. I thought, God, I can't take a chance. I got to feed these people.
Right. You got to have some money.
But everybody that is successful took a chance.
Right.
Not unless it's inherited, and that's great too. But I would say don't be afraid to take a chance.
Well, you took a few chances around.
Well, but they weren't okay. Throw everything we have out the window and do a Jerry Jones thing and go millions in debt so you can buy a football team.
I understand. That was a chance, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
Can you imagine? Could you do that?
Well, it turned out all right for him.
It did.
So, yeah.
I guarantee you, it folded up in a week if I'd have done it.
Yeah. Well, he's done all right.
Go out there and hit it hard. Don't let anybody else stand in your way. Don't hurt anybody.
Right.
You don't ever want to hurt anybody, or don't ever burn a bridge.
Right.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
All your life you're going to have differences with people.
Ups and downs.
Yeah. Differences with people nowadays are a little bit different than when you and I were in our 20s and 30s.
They handle them a little differently.
Oh my gosh, it's the world is upside down. But go out there and hit it hard, and don't get discouraged if you're not living in a $700,000 home in your first 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the problems.
Yeah, it's we've become pretty entitled as a nation.
Entitled. So, that's a good word. Yeah.
Well, Hal Jay, it's an honor to have you.
God bless you, Jeff. Thank you very much. And I mean it so much. Ann's sitting right there. And I'd like to end this by saying Ann is a gift from God.
Yes.
Because the first thing they asked me while we were both sitting there, do you have a caretaker? And Ann stood up and said, yeah, I'm going to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's
Wow.
that's what we say at the altar, and for good or
For good
better
or
for worse, or
yeah, well, you're
richer
right.
or poorer,
Yeah.
and
And
in
she
sickness and in health.
came through
Well, hey,
because
that's
it was those first 3 months were, boy, she had to lift my legs into bed.
yeah, and that's the things that most people you can't calculate that when you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
You can't put a price tag on that and understand what that means.
I was going to use this today if I remember to it, but you just reminded me of it. They ought to have a 30-foot statue to the guy who invented the urinal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and they ought to put to death the guy who invented the catheter.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I agree.
You
I
have one of
understand.
those ripped out of you?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I said, there is no God. When they pulled that out, I looked at that nurse and I said, there's just no God, is there? And she started laughing.
Oh, you've learned a lot in the last year.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I have. I've learned how to eat right.
Yeah.
I've learned how to take care of myself nutritionally. Yeah, I have.
You've learned that you don't want to go back.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, Hal Jay, thanks for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Thanks for being with us again. Last luncheon of the year. Come see us at Leader Exchange. God bless.